Okay, the Green Energy Act. Let's start there. The Green Energy Act sets up in Ontario, honestly, is a good piece of legislation. It does favour
they're on the backs of our homes and around our schools. So it's much more, here it's just
in Ontario. Now, the community near Lake Huron is slated for a new wind turbine project. The folks here are at a fundraiser, are the highest Ontarians have ever seen. In fact,
the Green Energy Act 2009 is a piece of legislation that works, that's come about to work to favour and help the promotion of renewable energy, energy conservation, and green efforts, technology efforts in Ontario. Before this legislation came about, what this legislation does, it helps renewable sources of energy. One thing it does is help renewable sources of energy to be more desirable and favourable in Ontario. This could be seen, and it does conflict with other pieces of legislation. old coal power stations could be said to favour more, from a systems thinking point of view, coal power station could be seen to favour more the social system and the economic system, producing lots of carbon emissions and other ways to actually source the actual coal itself and the oils itself. It could say that it damages the earth, not helping the ecological system. Not to even include the carbon emission that could also damage the ecological system. So our current factories, coal power factories, could be said from a systems thinking point of view, it would favour the social system and economic system. Like the social system, the more we need the coal power stations, the more we build. So we probably, the two, but the economic system probably working in this boundary, respecting the demand, social demand, and economic demands. But this is probably more prevalent in the West, or more prevalent with people that have the monopoly of oil. So it does favour these two. The Green Energy Act, that has been put out in Ontario, seems to be a good piece of legislation. But as human beings, we all make mistakes trying to do the right thing also. The Ontario Green Energy Act has come about to try, the Liberal government there has personally said that they are trying to eliminate coal-powered station, and they're trying to be all on renewables to help protect the government. Surge Media Canada 2015. That's what their aspirations were, to just eliminate coal and to be more, to favour more renewable energy. So this act's legislations have things in it that favours renewable energy companies such as wind power. So wind power companies now, when they produce wind power, they produce about 3.5 kilowatts of energy. Surge Media Canada 2015. They produce this amount. So every amount of electricity that they produce, the Act allows the operating system to buy their energy as opposed to the coal and nuclear stations. So the Act allows the operating system allows the renewable energy companies for them not to compete on the market scale. This is good in a sense that it favours more renewable energy as opposed to coal energy. But there's a little problem there. In writing the Act, in writing the Green Energy Act, it would of course need to change some other principles to favour this. So the Green Energy Act supersedes 21 acts in Ontario and changing them. There has been a little bit of an uproar because these acts, municipal rights, heritage Act, and multiple other things had to be changed to favour it. But of course, when implementing a new sustainable idea or a new sustainable act, this should take in account, especially an act like this should take in account the ecology, economics, and the social systems. This act should take in these three and not make the same mistakes as previous acts, which doesn't take in account the system approach. However, some of the acts that were changed seem to be favouring more and not changing current economic structures or economic ways of thinking. For example, the Liberal government continued the Liberal government continued the Liberal government said that they would, in this wind power movement, the Green Acts movement would eliminate coal power and would increase the economy. Surge Media Canada 2015. And they were using words such as increasing the economy, increasing new jobs, increase. And this is to help sustain the economy, the current economy, or the current way of doing things. And some of this does cut off the social rights. And some people in Ontario feel threatened that their social rights haven't been met. And in some cases, in looking at all the 21 acts that were superseded, yes, the municipal rights of the people and the heritage rights of the people were changed around 2005. This will be referenced in my essay in 2005. And this, in a way, did give more power, a more structured protection for companies and for the economy. But it also, in a way, it does seem like it's moving. The Green Act is great. It's now taking into account the ecological system. It's now taking into account the ecological system and trying not to produce more carbon emissions, etc., etc. But in looking at the legislation itself and how it's trying to protect the companies, it's looked like it's moved from this circle, this overall shape, from the social system and economic system. Coal is moving from this to now the ecological system and economic system. It's now taken out, not completely, because the Act does promote energy conservation for families and individuals that may not be receiving high income. So they do favour that, but they do not favour, not 100%, but just in those two pieces of legislation, heritage and the municipal rights were changed to favour the economic system, to favour the company's economic system. And details of how it does favour the economic system will be put in my essay. So it's almost moved to this problem, causing social system issues. And the thing about increasing the economy, why does it need to continue to increase? Many Ontarians said that the economy doesn't need to increase. Many countries in the West, economy may not need to increase. And Professor Ross McKentrick of the University of Gulf said that the new wind power infrastructure may not benefit the economy or grow the economy, though at the beginning it would decrease because you'd have to put money in for the long term. But from an economic standpoint, the base wind power produces 3.5 kilowatts of energy, as opposed to coal power, which produces 13.5 kilowatts of energy. So maybe eliminating coal isn't the answer, but reducing the amount of energy we need from coal is probably the way. And the tipping points, finding the tipping points is very important. And words like eliminate, increase in profit, increase in economy may need to change. May need to change. And this would have to be seen in our legislations and how businesses are run. Coming back to the municipal rights changed, and the heritage rights changed. There were a few individuals that in the public before such projects as wind power could go ahead, certain percentage, there should be a higher percentage of people agreeing for wind power before it can go ahead. For example, let's say let's say 8 out of 10 people let's say 8 out of 10 people agreed to agreed to the wind power in Ontario, and 2 out of the 10 disagreed. Great, it means you can go ahead with the project and respect their answer, and also respect their answers too, the no's answers too. As the Green Act favours wind power, that's great. When it comes to actually setting them up, locating where to put them, there was one individual that said no to them, lived about 450 meters away from the wind turbines. And as her municipal rights and heritage rights were changed to favour the companies to be able to put them there, that's where the rejection started to come. The fears and rejection started to come. If we are favouring the social systems, yes, they've said yes, they didn't mind. But the 2% that said no, maybe that one turbine that was close to them being removed, just the one close to this 2%, could be a loss. In a business, before going ahead, we have a certain percent of wind turbines that would like a specific goal, that in business, in economy, that would like to reach. But in a sustainable world where we are taking into account ecology, sociology, and economics, the room for freedom, or the room to work, would inevitably become smaller. And this is where sustainability as a system thinker occurs, in this smaller room, bringing the ecological system and economical system back into the tipping point. And perhaps, yes, having the go-ahead to put the wind farms, having the go-ahead because you've had 8 out of 10 saying yes, so this means yes, go ahead. But the 2%, they are also people that have said no. So yes, having a go ahead. Let's say yes, you had a go ahead, and you've had 4,000 or 20 wind turbines that you're going to set around Ontario. Yes, you got the tick to go ahead, but you still have to be sensitive. Maybe negotiating and see if they change. But if they still say no, their rights have to be acknowledged. And that 20 turbines may need to be divided by 2. May need to be divided, and you probably only need the goal, the contracts may need to change and have may need to introduce a soft contract. And the goal would have to change. That 2% divided by 2, the 20 turbines that you'd like to put down, divide it. And you may need to put about 14 turbines, or a bit more. But that's the picture. Divided it by 2. So the proximity around those individuals, especially Norma Strumet from Ontario, she lived only 450 miles away from one of the wind turbines. and she was a person that voted no for them. As we have to now live in here, we're not only taking the ecology and economic system into consideration, we're taking the social system into consideration. Majority says yes, so that's great. So that's like 8%. So the 2% that says no, the municipal rights that were changed may need to have something else that favours the 2%. Okay, maybe just the one turbine has to be removed or not. And that could affect the business and the business model and the economic model, but everywhere is different. Some places may accept, 10% may accept it in great economic models, as long as the social systems is fine and the ecological systems, it's not damaging the ecological systems, we must find all the tipping points, then great. But as long as we're working within here, is the key, and how we treat every individual. And coming back to the economic system, it may need to change. Because if currently our economic system favours growth, favours growth, then that may need to change. The ideology may need to change, especially within companies. So different policies may need to come into power to protect and sustain as opposed to grow. And we may need to have different forms of energy side by side for it to work. Eliminating coal power. For example, eliminating coal power in Ontario, as the Liberal government has declared. Yes, this can quickly move from in here back to just the economic system. Not exactly, but